I have no doubt Mike Gundy's Oklahoma State squad is going to be significantly better, but it's going to take some massive breakout performances by these players in order for the Cowboys to have any shot at reaching the Big 12 title promised land.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your top stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen. We're available on all of your podcasting platforms, visually as well on YouTube. Find me personally on X at Aldeo State. Today, we're going to jump right into the conversation of the breakout players that it is going to take at Oklahoma State for the Cowboys to have any chance of making an Arlington run. When you're replacing guys like Ollie Gordon, Nick Martin, Brennan Presley, Colin Oliver, there's definitely going to be some holes to fill. And some of these dudes have to step up and have NFL caliber seasons to get Oklahoma State to that promised land. And I think this is pretty fair to divide this up in two different categories. So we'll do the top six in honor of the Locked On 6-6 projection for the Cowboys. We'll go above a top five to a top six of the transfers and the returning Cowboys that are likely going to be breakout candidates or guys that we need to have breakout seasons. All right, we'll start this thing off with the transfer portal dudes. And the name that seems to be brought up the most is Wendell Gregory, especially during fall camp. Wendell Gregory is the South Carolina transfer that played a significant amount last year at South Carolina. Kind of a surprise ordeal that we were able to scoop him up out of the portal. He's already providing a lot of headlines essentially in fall camp. He is still in a competition with Malik Charles, who's put on like 53 pounds. Another phenomenal story. But this jack position is going to be what guides the defense, in my opinion, to having an upper echelon style of season. And I think Wendell Gregory is going to be the playmaker at that spot. Then you got to go, in my personal opinion, with Caleb Hicks. I'm excited about Rodney, excited about Trent. I like what Ceci provides. We're going to talk about more of that in segment 3. But Caleb Hicks, he has the versatility to do a little bit of everything and kind of reminds me of an LD Brown that just never really has gotten the opportunity quite yet. Took him a little bit of time to get the different nuances of the offense put together. Now that he's got that understanding, this running back rotation is going to shake out. But when it comes to upside and not having any injury bugs, Caleb Hicks seems to be the dude that can pop off the most in this upcoming season, which we absolutely need. Markel Samuel is the big 6'4", 305-pound tackle transfer from Appalachian State that we had to convince to come to Oklahoma State over several other suitors. He was a very big get in the transfer portal. And whenever you're breaking in new quarterbacks, potentially even multiple new quarterbacks, you have to have somebody protect that blind side. Markel Samuel seems to be that dude at that spot that is going to be crucial for the development of both Haas Haney and Zane Flores, especially keeping them upright and healthy. Markel seems to be that guy. You go with somebody like Wendell Gregory, who's been brought up time and time again, even dating back to before fall camp, at wide receiver, Marshall transfer, Christian Fitzpatrick. Last season, we needed somebody that could go up and win 50-50 balls on a consistent basis to help Alan Bowman. Unfortunately, that didn't seem to happen a whole lot. Brennan Presley was that dude. Rashad Owens did make some massive catches, but he also had some drops along the way that kind of, counteracted that. This is a dude that we have to have. Oklahoma State is famous. It's synonymous for having a top dude at the Z spot, whether it be a Hartley Dykes or a Des Bryant or a Justin Blackman, Tylen Wallace, James Washington, Tay Martin, doesn't matter. You got to have a dude at that spot. Christian Fitzpatrick, the Marshall transfer, seems to be that guy this year. Another name that has been brought up quite a bit recently, Brandon Rawls. Yes, Brandon Rawls has been in a competition with Trip White. A lot of people, myself included, assume that maybe Trip White, having that Ole Miss experience and having that top-level speed, would be somebody that would kind of take control of that spot. It doesn't appear as though that's the case. Brandon Rawls, the Saginaw Valley State linebacker, is the one that's kind of making some waves and is a very intriguing prospect for Oklahoma State. Another one of these dudes, kind of like Malik Charles, that hasn't been playing football but for a handful of years. And even in that, he was going through different positions along the way. So getting dialed in at the linebacker spot at Oklahoma State while potentially beating out Trip White, very, very big deal. So Brandon Rawls has to be one of these guys talked about as a breakout candidate. Another individual, Sitvini Hafili Kafusi, the big defensive tackle rocking number 17. Yeah, again, another dude that's in competition essentially with Amon Oates. Amon Oates being a returning guy, being a veteran, being somebody who's put on a significant amount of weight since coming to Stillwater, is likely going to get the nod here in a three-man front. But Sidvini Hafili Kafusi, number 17, is a big body beast down low that everybody needs to get familiar with out here at home because he's going to play a significant amount. And when we do go to a four-man front, which will be probably sparingly, but occasionally we'll use it, he'll likely be that other dude. And then we have to talk about the returning guys. The returning guys, Zaquan Patterson is obviously trending right now because he was a big-time top 60 player in the country, consensus four-star, goes to Miami, turns down the Clemsons of the world, the Ohio States of the world, Florida States of the world to go to Miami, plays 13 games as a true freshman at Miami. He even started a couple games, and then his coach, Mario Cristobal, comes out and says that he's the best pure tackler of all freshmen in the entire ACC. So this is naturally a big loss, but not when you have David Kabongo making the emergence that he has been. They would not be comfortable, in my opinion, likely, getting rid of somebody with the talent level of Zaquon Patterson with the NIL money that he was making to be a top-end contributor if we didn't know that somebody was going to be right there in line to make all of our concerns lessened. It seems to be right now that David Kabongo is that dude that is kind of giving the coaching staff to calm down a little bit about losing guys like Zaquon Patterson. We'd rather have somebody in here earning the NIL, reassessment periods and doing the most for the locker room and for the Cowboys. David Kabongo seems to be that guy, which is why Zaquan Patterson is at home. I went back and forth here. I know there's some people that I'm going to irritate with this one, but I went back and forth between Deshaun Brown and Jaleel Johnson. Jaleel Johnson having the versatility and the ability to play a little bit of that outside linebacker spot in the spring is going to be big for him. But I think Deshaun Brown athletically can do some things that even Jaleel Johnson may have a little bit of a difficulty with. Jaleel has the ability to get outside, get up the seams, get to the backfield, all of that. But Deshaun Brown just seems like one of those hardcore, loyal and true, to the core individuals that has put in his time, and he's excelling now with the training under Ryan Osborne. This could be a massive season for either Deshaun Brown or Jaleel Johnson. I just happen to go with Deshaun in this instance because I think that he has a phenomenal upside, and I think that his connection with Ryan Osborne is going to be visible on the field this season. This one, another one, I kind of went back and forth. Y'all know my opinions on Io Shotomite King and how much I value him at the top. I considered throwing Haas Haney into this mix, Zane Flores into the mix, but we don't know exactly what's going to happen at the quarterback spot. We know that one of them is going to have to take off for the Cowboys to have a big season. So I went with a big body beast down low, Austin Klecky, the dude who seems to be potentially leading for that right guard starting spot. But he's also the number 2 center. He's also a backup at tackle. He is the utility Swiss Army knife offensive lineman that Oklahoma State used to rely on to have the levels of success. If you go back to the Joe Wickline days, we had a bunch of dudes that played tackle, then they slid to guard, then they played center, then they maybe went back to tackle. And that versatility for somebody like a Tevin Jenkins going off to the NFL was absolutely instrumental in them having an opportunity to prolong their professional career. So Austin Klecky seems to be that dude. Is he likely to start at guard? Yes, possibly. But if he doesn't start at guard, he's going to be the backup guard, the backup tackle, the backup center, because he is that good. And we all know offensive linemen, with just the nature of the beast and how they get rolled up on and things of that nature, injuries happen at that spot and the running back spot more so than almost anything else on the field. With that being said, if we have a injury anywhere, Austin Klecky is the dude that can plug and play at almost any single spot on that O-line. I expect him to continue to be that guy this season, which is why he's on this list. Next, we got to go with the most obvious probably, and that is Josh Ford. When Oklahoma State goes and grabs 5, 6, 7 tight ends to add to this roster to go alongside the Fords and the Quentin Stewarts of the world, that naturally shows that we're probably going to utilize that position quite a bit. And I think it does make even more sense when you take into consideration that Haas Haney and Zane Flores both have not thrown a pass at the collegiate level. A really good tight end is always a quarterback's best friend, best security blanket when things break down or you're rolling outside of the pocket. We have to have big-time tight ends to break in these quarterbacks, and Josh Ford is likely to be the dude that puts us back into this, Josiah Johnson, Blake Jarwin style of conversation. Then we got to stick on the defense or go to the defensive side of the ball with Cam Smith, right? Whenever you hear that J.K. Johnson's potentially running a 4.3 40 and you have somebody like Jalen Davies coming over from UCLA with multiple years of starting experience and very legitimate numbers to go with those multiple years starting at UCLA, you expect potentially those would be the two dudes. So the fact that Cam Smith has been able to hold off J.K. Johnson, pretty remarkable. And it does indicate that he has had a year of maturation. He's had a year of growth. His ability to go between man and zone seems to be much, much better this season. His ability to twist his hips and be in a recovery position seems to be better this season. It'll be fun to see what it looks like out on the field, but Cam Smith has to be one of these dudes. We'll stick with the Cams. We'll go with Cam Epps here. Right? Guys like Wendell Gregory and Christian Fitzpatrick and David Kabongo are names that get brought up on a pretty consistent basis. Haven't necessarily heard a lot about the free safety spot. That does mean that Cam Epps is probably the consummate professional that is doing his job, but we need more than that this season. We need our free safety to do what he's shown glimpses of. Cam Epps has shown little glimpses of him being a next level individual. That's got to happen this season. He's got to make a name for himself. He's got to be the dude protecting the back end because of the complexities in the defense. He's going to have to bail us out occasionally. He has the ability. He has the talent. He has the size, range, speed, skills. He has all of it. Much like Deshaun Brown and Julio Johnson, this is Cam Epps' season to make it shine out on the field. So let me know down in the comment section what you guys think. Obviously, I'm going to miss some people. Some people are going to disagree. So let me know down in the comment section who are some potential breakout stars that I missed on this list. And what are your thoughts about this list in general? Meanwhile, we get to shift gears here a bit. I think that Zaquan Patterson leaving is not actually all that bad. PrizePicks is back in action. Your best daily fantasy game is here, just in time for football season to roll back around. PrizePicks is the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football prediction into real-life rewards. Preseason is already heating up, and the beginning of college football is literally right around the corner. We can feel it, we can taste it, we can see it. It's right there. Whether you've got your eye on a big-name quarterback or some breakout running backs, PrizePicks makes it easy for you to get in the game. Even if you're talking about the NFL, right? I have thoughts and opinions on guys like Chuba Hubbard and Mason Rudolph and Jalen Warren. But what are your heavy-hitting lineups that you need to put together? PrizePicks is the bee's knees for all of your daily fantasy needs. The flex play option is a total game changer also, because this means that even if one of your picks misses, you're still going to be able to double it up. You're still going to be able to double your money. PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Get with PrizePicks for your opportunity to run your game. We wasn't done. We also got Drip Drop in the mix today. If you're trying to stay on top of any routine, whether it's workouts, long days at work, long days on the campus, or if you're simply just trying to stay focused on back-to-back classes or working overtime, hydration is where all of it starts. That's where Drip Drop comes into play. When I'm on top of my hydration, I notice that everything naturally goes a little bit smoother. Life is a little bit easier. Energy, your mood, your focus, and even your skincare definitely likes getting fluids in your body every single day, and it's not easy to always prioritize that. Drip Drop is the bee's knees for this reason. It is also a doctor-developed and scientifically proven for fast hydration method. It uses a perfect balance of sodium, electrolytes, and glucose to help your body absorb fluids quickly, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of the leading sports drinks. Your go-to flavor, it probably isn't really going to matter. I've tried all of them. The berry is good. The lemon was actually very surprising. All you need to do is get a bottle, dump this stuff in, chug a lug, enjoy the great flavors, and get on about your business. I always keep a few packets with me in my little go bag. I also keep some in my car for the baseball team because they like to get them cracking in the dugout. Drip Drop has become my personal go-to. Anytime somebody has an ailment in my family, whether it's accurate or not, I say, hey, get you some Drip Drop and go from there. Then we'll figure out what's wrong after you get hydrated. Right now, Drip Drop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. Head on over to dripdrop.com and use the promo code LockedOnCollege, all one word. That is dripdrop.com, promo code LockedOnCollege for 20% off. Stock up now before football season, baseball season, and all of this crazy heat hits us very hard. All right, now we get to shift gears once again to the Zaquon Patterson conversation. And from a depth perspective, yeah, it's a little problematic, especially if somebody with so much talent like Landon Cleveland is perhaps maybe not, doing everything that he's supposed to every single day. We just proved, though, that if you don't perform every single day, that eventually it's going to catch up to you and you're going to be gone. It doesn't matter if you're one of the top end earners for the NIL. If you're getting that amount of money and you're not logging on to your playbook every day and you're not filtering through, everything on the iPad and you're not going through the breakdowns, you're not showing up to meetings on time, or you're falling asleep in meetings repeatedly, if you're doing things of that nature, you're going to be gone, or you're going to be put as a DSA, right? Like if you're enjoying the nightlife a little bit too much, then perhaps you could be classified as a DSA style of situation. Losing Zaquan Patterson, yeah, it's not fun. The dude was a massive recruit that goes to Miami and plays 13 games as a true freshman, gets called the best tackling freshman in the ACC. It's a big loss. But I think that this sets the right precedence moving forward. This sends the right message. And I think this is great for the motivational aspects, right? There's supposed to be reassessments of the NIL figures after the first week, after midseason, and after the end of the regular season. So if you free up a significant amount of money from one of the top end earners of the Cowboy football roster, let's say you're David Kabongo, right? Now you have your opportunity. And now if you go out and show out against UT Martin and you have a good game against Oregon, there's a very high likelihood that in this reassessment phasing, you're going to get more money. So if we just freed up, a significant chunk of money monthly, now you should be able to redisperse that to the players that are going to earn it after week one. I think for that alone, it's a very good thing, but it also sends a message to everybody else that's making big boy money. So if you're a Brian McCoy or a Chendavian Bradley or a Caleb Hicks, like, you're going to have to perform. There's an expectation that if you come to Oklahoma State from some of these other places, right, J.K. Johnson, Jalen Davies, Vinny Hafili-Kavusi are all dudes that you could probably factor into this upper end financial compensation department as well. This sends a message that even if you're one of the top paid players on the entire roster, if you show up late, if you're falling asleep, if you're not taking it seriously, if you're not logging on to your iPad and going through the playbook and doing the breakdowns of what you need to be looking at and what the quarterback's trying to do, if you're not doing all of that fun stuff, you can be booted real quick, fast, and in a hurry. So we're proving we don't mind stepping up in the NIL department. We have more money than we allude to for whatever reason. That I actually do not understand, like, why we short sell the financial numbers sometimes. Anyways, but nonetheless, we're proving we can go get the guys from the LSUs and the Miamis and the Floridas. We can do it. We can pay for it. We can afford it. We can go get them. But it doesn't mean that you're automatically going to play. Now, I can't say that last season was a direct reflection of the guys getting the most NIL, but there is no way that anybody, anywhere can look at this last season's offensive line and say, yeah, that should have been the starting five every single game. There's no way. It is not physically possible to look at last year's O-line and say that those five guys are for sure the best five out there. I think defensively as well. I'll just say it, Kendall Daniels shouldn't have been playing. The size is there, speed, athleticism. He's a freak. He's an NFL-ready, bodied, athletic freak of an individual. But he shouldn't have been playing. Anytime you have a player walking on the field while the play is still happening, he should be on the bench. It doesn't matter if he's getting $0, tons of dollars, if he's a walk-on scholar. It shouldn't matter. If you have a dude walking on the field live during plays several times, he should be on the bench. Does that mean he was playing because of NIL? We don't know. No, probably not. But it probably had at least some semblance of a factor into the equation. Right? Joe Bob was going to ride the Kendall Daniels bus until the wheels fell off. But unfortunately, the wheels fell off and nobody made an adjustment. Nobody made a correction. I mean, and this was happening at more than just, linebacker. It was happening on the offensive line as well. So dudes were showing up late. I'm not saying KD was. But KD's problem was effort on the field. But we did have some guys showing up late to meetings last year on the offensive line. And they kept getting starting time. And then the backups like Noah McKinney and Jason Queso-Brooks would have higher PFF grades, be on time to everything, and not get the benefit of more playing time. So was it all NIL? We don't know, and maybe not. But it could have played a factor. It probably played at least a little bit of a factor. And that's the beauty of this move. Getting rid of Zaquan Patterson, who athletically is easily one of the best players on the team. Not even close. But if we're going to pay him top dollar and he's not going to do what he's supposed to, you have to do this. You have to send this message. And that's what it does. It sends a message to everybody on the team. If you want to make more money, do everything you're supposed to. Log in all of your hours. Be on time. Do the extra work. Do the extra lifting. Do your nutrition. And then whenever they do the reevaluations of NIL, you're probably going to get more money. And likewise, if you're getting top dollar, but you're late to meetings or you're not logging all of your hours or you're not taking it seriously or you're falling asleep, you're going to get less money and less playing time. And it sends that message right now that it doesn't matter who you are, where you came from, what your stars were, how much you played at your last stop, what we're paying you. We're going to give you a little bit of leash, of course, because young men are young men, and young men, we don't think rationally all that often, right? So we're going to make mistakes. We're going to mess up occasionally. And so you have to give some leeway, and they are doing that. But there's got to be a cutoff too. And this proves that there is a cutoff. No matter how good you are, no matter how much money you're getting, there is a line that the coaching staff draws, and once you cross that line, they're done with it. That is not what was happening last season. Is it because of NIL? Maybe, maybe not. But there were several players playing last season that visibly on the field during games should not have been starting. So we were rewarding complacency and laziness. Once that spreads, it becomes a cancerous infection. That is clearly not happening because Zaquan's gone. And now guys like David Kabongo are getting more opportunities. Parker Robertson's going to get more opportunities. This is going to be a time for DeAndre Boykins, the North Carolina transfer, to dial things in a little bit more. Landon Cleveland, this is a good moment for him too. You can have all of the talent in the world. You can be a ready-made starter at this level, but if you're not doing everything you're supposed to every single day, it's going to catch up to you. It can catch up to you. And that's the last thing that Oklahoma State needs this season. Open Phone is who you need to contact if you are running a business point blank, period. Every missed call is money left on the table. Like, think about the last time you needed a specific service. If the person didn't answer, did you wait around and continuously call back, or did you move on and try to find a better option? The likelihood is you moved on. That's why you need Open Phone for your business today, so you never miss an opportunity to connect directly with your customers. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system designed to streamline and scale your customer communications. Do you juggle multiple phones just to keep your business and personal calls separate? Open Phone solves that immediately for you. Your whole team can share one number and respond to customers like a shared inbox. No more of the who's handling this situation. And an AI agent handles all of your after-hours calls, answers common questions, and captures leads so you never miss the customer again. See why over 60,000 businesses trust Open Phone. They're offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedoncollege. That is openphone, openphone.com/lockedoncollege, all one word. They'll even port over your existing numbers for free. Open Phone is who you need to see for no missed calls, no more missed customers, no more missed opportunities. Get with Open Phone today. All right, well, we're cruising right along here. We'll keep this one brief. The running back situation is still a competition. It's still a rotation. And part of it is because Rodney Fields is, I guess, kind of like Io Show to my king. He's had some instances where he's banged up, so he'll miss a few days here, miss a couple days here. But every time he is back, he seemingly bumps himself back up to that RB1 spot fairly quickly, somewhat convincingly. I think Caleb Hicks still has a couple things from the offense to get dialed in, and maybe a ball security thing to continuously get dialed in. From an upside perspective, I think Caleb Hicks has a lot of the intangibles you're looking for. It's like everything that we hope to see out of LD Brown that never quite came to fruition with a little bit less speed. I think that's potentially what Caleb Hicks could provide. But we saw last year when Rodney Fields is healthy, especially now that Rodney Fields is bulked up and put on some mass, a healthy Rodney Fields is a Justice Hill kind of dude, and you absolutely have to have it. Trent Allen, he seems to be factoring in and being talked about once again, which means ball security has likely gotten better, because that was, the biggest issue throughout fall camp was once you fumbled, you kind of bumped down, and then you were waiting on the next guy to fumble to get bumped back up. And then once you did get bumped back up, if you fumbled, you were bumped back down. So to hear that Trent's kind of solidified, at least for now, that RB2 spot, it leads us to believe that we're in a pretty good spot. And then Sesi Vailahi. I know some people kind of view him as somebody that underperformed last year, and he was underwhelming when he was in the ball games. And I mean, you can't look at the film and completely disagree, right? But he seems to be the best wide receiver option out of the backfield. Therefore, if you're going to get creative offensively and you're going to utilize multiple packages and you're going to have some plays where you have maybe a Sam Jackson or a Gavin Freeman in the backfield to spice it up a little bit, you have to have somebody that can catch the eye candy and catch the football. And Sesi easily could be that dude. Freddie Brock could kind of morph into that, but I always felt like Freddie Brock was somebody that we were primarily targeting for utilization next season. But a running back position is always going to have some injuries along the way. Basically, I don't think so. Like if Zane wins the QB1 spot, right? And right now it seems like Haas is probably going to enter UT Martin as QB1. But if Zane were to take over that spot eventually, it doesn't really matter for Haas because he's still going to play a crap ton. I think it's comparable for Trent Allen. Whether it's Rodney Fields' RB1 or maybe Caleb Hicks' RB1, maybe Sesi Vailahi steps up as RB1. No matter who is RB1, it kind of feels like no matter what, Trent Allen is RB2 because he's going to be utilized in specific roles and specific situations that'll always garner him a necessity on the field. So even if Trent Allen was quote-unquote RB4, there's still going to be tons of moments throughout the course of the season that we absolutely have to have him in the ball game. So whatever his designation is, it almost feels somewhat insignificant. He's got a role. He's going to provide a lot of juice in that role, regardless of who's QB or RB1 and RB3 surrounding him. I think that's pretty comforting news. Oklahoma State is going to rely on a committee approach for the running backs. But having a healthy Rodney Fields definitely changes the equation because it gives you more capabilities, more speed, more versatility. It's nice to see this room is running by committee. However, both quarterback and running back, I would imagine by Baylor, we have like a steady stream of 2 or 3 dudes. But the first couple weeks is going to be interesting. Anywho, that's all we're going to have this one right here. As always, I love you. God bless. Go Pokes. Get ready for the defensive depth chart. As always, do what you do. hit the stars, leave a review, and hit the like button too. Alrighty, y'all. Later.